This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we're going to be making buttercream plumeria flowers. They're a simple start to using curved petal tips, and if you've never tried your curved petal tips before, this is a great flower to start practicing with. You can follow along in the step-by-step segments, or you can skip ahead and rewatch and rewind as desired. So let's start making the colors for our plumeria flowers. We're just going to make one color, a nice rich yellow, and then we've also got some extra white that we're going to load into the bag with it. And these flowers come in several colors, so you can do a variety of different color combinations. We're using American style buttercream and two liquid gel shades, lemon yellow and just a little bit of sunset orange. And I've got a little squeeze of my sunset orange out there because I'm just going to add a little bit to give the yellow kind of that eggy golden quality. And I'm just going to start with 2 drops of my lemon yellow. And we're looking for like a nice bright vibrant color with just a little bit of that golden warmness. So we're just going to give it 2 little specks of that orange. I find the orange goes a really long way. And these flowers come in all sorts of varieties of reds, pinks, yellows, whites, and then really, really nice, beautiful shades to them. So you can start with a simple one. We're gonna just do the 2 color, yellow and white. And once you're comfortable, you can start adding more colors into your bag and really producing some really beautiful effects. So I think that's a beautiful color. We've got a nice, vibrant yellow for the center of our flowers. So we have our bag ready for our project. We're using one disposable 12-inch decorating bag. We have the tip fitted directly in it. Since we're only using one and there's no need to change, we don't need to use a coupler. It's a number 61, and you can see it's a nice curved shape petal tip. And we have our bright yellow that we made lined up with the fat end of the opening and the white along the top. That's going to give us yellow centers and a white edge to our petals. So we've got that ready to go. Let's talk about the techniques we're going to use to pipe our petals. So for these plumeria flowers, we're basically going to use one technique. We're going to pull a kind of almost teardrop shaped petal, so it's much like a traditional petal, but we're going to add a little twist to it. We're going to change the angle that we're holding the tip at mid kind of petal. So when we start on our nail, we're going to be facing back end of the bag away. We're going to pull, and then as we rotate the nail, we're going to come back with the tip and we're going to change the angle of the opening. So we're going to go from that lay flat against the tip position to when we round it, we're going to pull it back so it's either coming back at 90 degrees or for our first one, closer to 45. And that's going to give these petals a very cupped shape to them and give them a little tilt that gives them more of that feel of a plumeria flower when they're all strung together. So it's not a really difficult technique. It does take a little getting used to, and it's a little easier to do on the nail, but I'm going to try and do it on the tray. So think about it going up, spinning around, and then pulling back. Oh, not too bad for doing it on the tray. It's a little more difficult than doing it on the nail. And you can see that gives us a petal that's kind of curved and up on its side. The more you open up the angle, this one is like straight at 90, so you can see it looks like it's really on its side. The more you open it up, the fatter the petals will be, and the more of a cupped shape they'll have. So it'll be a little softer. This one's a little kind of severe, right? So you want to kind of get it in there almost 90, maybe not quite for some, and more open for others, and just kind of let it flow. But this gives us a beautiful shape to those petals that kind of has them on their side and gives the flower a little bit of depth, which plumeria flowers have. So let's talk about how we're going to build our blossom. We really only got one technique for those petals, but plumeria flowers have 5 petals. So it's kind of an uneven amount, and if you're not used to doing flowers with an uneven amount yet, getting the spacing and judging that can be a little difficult. But I usually start with the first one, and that one's kind of more of a lay flat. It's going to have a big open angle to it, so I'm going to pull out and pull back at just a slight tilt, not too severe, right? And then for subsequent ones, I'm going to be closer to that kind of 90-degree angle. And that'll make it easy for me to overlap the previous petal and get this kind of lovely spiral opening look, because the petals kind of all overlap towards the center. Plumeria flowers don't really have any stamens or anything like that in the center. They just have this characteristic overlap of those kind of cupped petals with those curved edges. So we want to get a more severe angle when we're pulling back on our subsequent petals, so for 2 through 5. And probably on that last one is where you'll be really close to 90, because you want to make sure that you're not running into or disturbing the first one you put down there. We also have the option of putting a little bit of support or a little mound of frosting under the petals. A lot of times the petals themselves kind of lay over and they have this kind of convex shape to them. So if you're going and you want to add a little more depth to these flowers, a little more detail, a little more interest, you can even put a little mound of frosting under the space where the petal is, and we'll probably do this for a few of them, and that'll give a few of them that kind of little extra bit of height and give the flowers overall an extra bit of depth. But you don't need to, and especially to begin with, if you've never done this before, you can skip that at first. Once you feel comfortable, maybe start adding that in, and it'll give your flowers a little more variety. One of the wonderful things about these is that they don't need any center. It's just 5 petals and you're done. So it's a quick, easy flower, and if you've never used a curved petal tip before, it's a nice one to start with. So let's practice piping one on our flower nail. I've got my nail ready to go, a little dab of buttercream, a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to start with my first petal. So back of the bag is facing back, tip is in that lay flat position. I'm right there in the middle. I'm going to squeeze, slowly rotate, and pull back. And you can see that gives me a lovely, beautiful little petal, and it's just ever so slightly cupped because of the shape of the tip. Now for subsequent ones, I'm going to just kind of mark a little bit over here, get a little buttercream coming out so you can see where I want to go with them, right? Just a little gentle marking is a nice thing for you to kind of help judge, because 5 is an uneven number, so unlike 4s, you're not going into equal quadrants, and that gives me a nice little indicator of where I need to put the middle of that petal. So I'm going to do the same thing where I pull out, and then when I pull back, I'm going to make it so that the top edge of that tip is kind of facing up, like we talked about. So pull out, and then when we pull back, you can see it's coming up. That gives us more of a curve on that petal, and it overlaps the first one, and it starts to build that kind of spiral of petals. Now I know where I need to go with my next one, right out over here. And you can see, because the front edge of it is flat, when I come back, I'm not going to be running into it. It's just going to kind of glide in there right on top of it. Go out, spin, and then come back, and you see that gives me these beautiful petals, right? If I want to add some depth to these, just go ahead and put a little mound underneath it. That's going to give us something to pipe over, and it's going to give those petals a slight curve or bend. So I'm going to try this for my 4th one. So out, spin, and back. Beautiful. And you can see that gives them just a little bit more height. It gives them a slight bend, which gives them a lovely little realistic feel. So for my last one, I'm going to start it so that it's just nested underneath the back end of that first petal. Pull out, and you can go right back. And you can see that gives us a lovely 5-petaled plumeria flower. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.